evening, everyone. Okay, painting. I think that's where I'm at. So, we've got the undercoat with the sealant, Mod Podge and black paint on almost everything. I noticed I missed one of the little ones that came with the boat originally, so I will do that separately because it needs a bit of that black paint and Mod Podge just for the paint that I want to put on it to stick, I think. So I'll do that another time. These surfaces should all be good to get some paint on. This was undercoated and quite early on, so that's been waiting for some paint. And so I'm going to start with, see how the wood, the brown wood colour I've got comes up on that surface I've added there, and then start thinking about where I'm going to start painting this one and see how it turns out. The colours that were on the plastic are still showing through a little bit, so it's not like a full undercoat, it's just, but I think that'll work out okay for this. I might just need to get a bit darker undercoat on the cardboard because it's a cereal box, so it's got branding on it. That's still sort of showing through, so I might need to get a bit more undercoat on there, maybe just some black paint for that, and work out whether I'm making these look like a light source. This is a little lanterns I added on the end here, and work out some colouring for the glass. Might just be sort of not necessarily a blue, they almost look like they're good as is, but just add some colouring to it, maybe like a, not a green, but like a orangey. I've got an idea in my head, but we'll come to that later. So these are the Kmart Anko branded paints I got for this project. So I'm going to start off with this one, which is Burnt Sienna, and this is the first time using this particular paint set. I've used the Anko paint before, which has worked really well on my other projects, but this is just a slightly different format rather than the little metal tubes. It's a little click open. Now I've got quite a bit of a surface to do, so I don't know if how this is going to pan out distance wise, but see how we go. I'll just get a bunch of water. Paint scheme I've got for this is pretty basic. I don't want to, my main thing isn't yet, shall I say, painting. So I've had some fun painting some of the projects I've done previously on the channel, some of my videos and stuff. I enjoyed the painting, I just haven't done a lot. So essentially just a bit of paint, bit of water, and this was, what I'm painting at the moment was, what do you call it? Lollipop types, not lollipop sticks. Wooden sticks, like barbecue skewer, hot dog skewers sticks. So it already had that sort of wood grain and look, and it's looking pretty good in the sense I don't need it to be super coloured, but enough to give it the obvious look of decking for the ship. There might be a bit of touch up I need to do. And this is just the initial coat, but I mean even that's looking, I wouldn't say enough because it's only one colour, but I mean you could pass, it could be enough, but I'm going to add some more to it. I see some other painters, crafters and stuff use quite heavily like the washes, which is getting into all the little gaps. My intention is to do that, but I've never actually made my own wash. They sort of use their own wash. Some people just use black paint and water, like really like half and half, so it's really watery. So that's looking pretty good. I mean, on the stream I can see it's sort of not really picking up the detail, but I think once it dries it's going to be a little bit duller, and then when I go over with the lighter brown to just catch some of the high points, then it should stick out a bit better. So I'll just put that to the side, see how this mast goes. Now the painting's going to take a wee moment stream wise, because obviously I've got to paint a little bit and then let it dry, and then paint a bit more, let it dry, and change colours and whatnot. So we'll just see how this type of stream goes. I mean, this is all the learning on this sort of stream. So it's really just getting a little bit of the colour onto this. Might not quite be the surface, because this is quite plasticky flat as well. And it's just getting enough colour on there for the effect I want, and then coming back at it with a lighter colour to highlight the little raised bits. So I think it's going to be quite, maybe just a light colouring, and we'll just see how it goes. I've done a little bit more on, I just glued up the sails that I made. I'm going to try and shape the one that would essentially have the wind blowing in it, and see if I can get it to hold its shape while I glue it or paint it, just to see if I can give a bit of, I don't know, static movement, I suppose you would call it. So it looks like it's got wind in the sails. And pretty much from there, it's just maybe a little bit of detail, different painted detail, and then done really. So a couple of, the ship's pretty much going to be mostly brown, obviously, for being wood, wooden ship, and so pretty basic paint scheme, but I think it'll just tie it all together and essentially just have the project completed. This one's been on my mind for a wee while, and it's going on a little while, so I'll just try and bring it through to completion, and hopefully just tie it all together with a little bit of a paint job. Of varying colours. So it's gonna already that brown sort of just soaked in. It's pretty dry already actually, so there's not much on there. So I could possibly do a bit of a dry brush, a highlight on that one. In today's stream, we're only early into the stream, so we got, let's try and get this first coat. I think is just going to put a bit of a surface down so I can, the extra colour will hold on to it. So this is all really sort of like a wooden mast, and the rope sort of tied around the mast. I can picture seeing that on one of the old ships that I have been on. I think it's the Cutty Sark on the Thames. Just that sort of old, I don't know if it's oiled or if it's greased or whatever, but just painted dark. It almost looks like oil or gum or something that's just been painted and constantly over the rope, so it's just static. Like you're not going to move that rope. So that's what I'm sort of going for with this rope on the mast. So I think we go. So I've got a couple of just some plastic lids. To use as little colour palettes. Seems to be working alright. What do we got here? Lamp black. Sort of like a slight greyish tone to it. And so some of the areas on the ship here, so I've done the undercoat with the Mod Podge. Everything on the outside looks okay because I used the white surface of the cardboard and whatnot on facing out, but the inside is the cereal box. So I just want to give that a coat of, so this is, yeah, that'll do it. Just to cover over that cereal box colouring, so something that I can remember next time is either double side the cardboard or make sure I put a darker undercoat onto it. So yeah, that's going to cover just the cereal box colour, the pattern of, I don't know, what would it be, Weet-Bix box or something that's got quite high colour on it. I know it'll be muesli bars, has a big red stripe across it, so you can sort of see it through the back there. I've got to make sure I'm not pulling myself away from my table. So the inside of this box is just the colours showing through, so that's some branding there. So I'm just getting a darker, but sort of, yeah, dark grey. I think it's called lamp black in the Anko one, just to cover that over, so once that dries I should be able to put a bit of the actual colour I want, which is just the wood. But in saying that, it's not looking too bad with this colour, just in the back there, just to cover that over, make it just all blend together. So yeah, I just need to probably give that another coat. The red, I wasn't really thinking of the inside there, so it's the branding on the cardboard I used. But that's okay, it's all learning. So come back to the brown, and I just want to see how it starts looking. Now this ship, the plastic ship, originally had like a gold, you can sort of see it on here, gold band around the edge, and I'm sort of liking the look of that, to keep that, but it sort of changes up here, so I might try and, whatever it is, sort of follow that line around. So I just want to see how this paint, yeah, so I'm just following the lines I made with the brush to put the undercoat on with this brown. I don't think this is going to be a super heavily painted project, well, in the sense of if you might still be able to see through it, so I'll just see how far I take it. But even this light coating is looking like way different to what it was, so it's sort of tying it all together, and I think once it dries, it's going to look pretty cool. And hopefully the lines I made with the undercoat brush will pick up when I do a dry brush, so I think you get hardly any paint on your brush, and you just want to try and catch the very high points and pick out what the light is hitting. So we'll see if my painting technique works. You can sort of see it. Oops, you can sort of see it when I've got too much paint on the end and it sort of goes on the edges and looks far brighter than the rest of it. It's sort of what I want to do when I'm dry brushing, but with a slightly lighter colour. So it's highlighting plus it's highlighting. So far so good with these paints. I mean, at the moment it's going on quite thin, which is good. That's what I sort of need. I've thinned it down with a bit of water, and it's just to try and bring all of the surfaces together and make it look like it should all be painted as a ship. I think the only thing I'm not worried about, I'm just conscious of, is bumping things, but how much paint is in these little tubs. So whether it's actually going to be enough for my project, and whether I need to go top it up. So the problem with that is a particular set of paint. I think, what did it come as? Came as 48 colours. I think they don't really sell the individuals. So if I run out of brown, for instance, from a wood colour, I'm going to have I'm going to have some trickiness trying to either find a similar one that matches, or because I don't really need to buy another 48 paints just for one brown. That would be a little bit ridiculous. But I think I do have some of the other ones in the metal containers, these little foil containers, so and their Anko brand, hopefully, if there is a brown, it is either very similar or the same. Although this project should be quite forgiving, being my first sort of big painting project. The other painting projects I've got have been pretty small in comparison, but it's in my mind it's a sort of an old or repaired ship. So I mean, it's sort of, if I change the colours of it, it sort of leads into making it look more authentic almost, like in the sense of it's either been repaired a bunch of times or weathered on one side more because the, I don't know, always sail into the sun, so it's weathering on one side. That probably doesn't happen, but anyway. Yeah, we'll cross that when we get to it. So they're small amounts of paints, so hopefully I have enough just following the shape of the ship, and also the I suppose a grain. The brush I used to put the undercoat on has quite thick ridges, and that actually worked because the side of the ship was flat, and I sort of wanted the texture of the wooden panels to sort of look a bit more timber like, so hopefully that works in my favour. So just following the lines to give it that sort of timber look. So far so good. And this, I've already done two sides and I've still got paint, so that's good. So yeah, I suppose the thing I need to be aware of is just keeping a little bit of dialogue going as I go. Obviously, I think I'm already, through the streaming of this project, worked out a few things that I don't like on a stream like this and do like. So I think the coming up with interesting crafts or shapes when you're doing live crafting is cool, but I don't think people are going to like just quiet painting. So I think this will be the first and last stream of just this type of painting, because it's not that exciting for everyone. But it's just something I have to get through at this stage, as it were. So I think if I do live streaming again, it'll be more the cutting and crafting and making something, or maybe just craft and record it like this, like I see quite a few streamers do, and then they come back and make a video and dub over it with a voice. So this would just be like a quick paint, time lapsed, and me talking over it, going, yes, I did this here and that there, and here you can see me putting straight lines of brown paint on the ship, and here you can see me getting a bit I missed, but obviously a little bit more cut and trimmed video. So it might not look like much on stream, but it's added a matte, a dull finish to it, but also the colours I'm sort of going for. So I'm quite happy with it so far. It's not necessarily polished, like it's still quite rough looking, but I think as I keep adding just some more layers and different colours, So I'm going to, later on I'm going to get, I've got a lighter brown, this one's copper, so that's going to be my dry brushing colour, so to just pick up those little ridges hopefully, and pull out the detail. I think the undercoat I did is handy because it is sort of transparent. You can still see the colouring underneath. It's the right sort of base colour, because the plastic toy was already a brown wooded colour. I'm just coming across it and adding a bit more detail and a bit of the colours I want over the top. And so far it's looking pretty good. It would almost be like a wash. What I'm doing is just sort of watered down paint and just getting a light coating of the colour I want over the black undercoat I did. And that's really all I'm aiming to do is just pull all the little bits I've added together so that it looks like it should be there as one ship. So I think we're getting there. I suppose the only way to tell is if it dries and looks sort of different to what I had it. I mean, adding layers and layers of paint and then for it to look the same is probably not what I'm going for. But just to add a little bit of extra colour to make it look like it needs to, like it's supposed to be there. Which I think is working. Sort of quite a gritty look to it, so you could use it as a pirate ship or just a well-used ship. So it doesn't look too, it does, it looks, so it's got the brown, the matte brown that I've added, the brown that I've added has gone sort of like a mattish sort of colour. I've still got this gold bit showing up around the edge that I haven't covered, and around those gun ports was similar, but it's looking as if these bits are part of it rather than cardboard and extra little bits of wood and string. It's looking as if it's one model or one ship. Even the little guy up the front that I've added, pretty cool. He needs a separate, I think, undercoat, because the Mod Podge would have just filled it all in, I think. So he's looking pretty cool there. And I've got the colouring that I want coming through with that burnt sienna. Just adding a little bit of colour to it, and I think it's working quite well with the darker, the plastic colour, original colour showing through. It's sort of just pulling it together as if it should be there. So I'm quite happy with that. So once this back bit dries, you can see less and less of the cardboard box branding, and the brown on the back of the ship's looking good. So that's the coffee stir sticks that I've added to build up the back with the rudder, and it makes it look like it should be there with the colouring, with the added bit on. I'm gonna at some point do a darker black Mod Podge through the bottom here, just to make that fully dark and shaded essentially. But that is looking pretty good there. So what we'll move on to is a little bit of the ocean, the sea. So what we've got is around where the boat sits, this is the lower deck, is the water that it's going through, and what we want to do is build up the blues similar to this piece here. So I've got going to start off with the darkest blue, and I'm going to get almost completely covered. The black should still show through a little bit because it's going to be real dark, open ocean type stuff, and then start adding lighter and lighter. So we'll see how far we get on the stream. Oh, that's nice. So very dark blue. I think the volumes of these are 30 mils, but that's actually quite a bit. I have no real gauge of how much distance, not distance, how much paint area I can get with 30 mils, but I think the idea is just a little bit of water and I just want to get it all over it. So the first layer is always going to be a little bit see-through, a little bit light. So this is probably going to need 3 coats. It should slowly build up, and if I do a couple of coats of the darkest, just to across the bottom. I mean, it's already, as I'm with the brush strokes there, it's getting sort of some darker bits into those gaps, the little raised waves I've added on there, which is sort of what I want. But obviously the wet paint's going to change as soon as it dries, so we'll just get all this paint on. It's also going to give the next few layers something better to stick to, rather than just the flat Mod Podge sealant, because it's essentially just shiny surface at the moment. And I think it shouldn't matter too much with this undercoat of blue, but sort of like layer it up as I'm going, following the waves, so it sort of catches all the little raised bits. It's looking pretty cool with the wet paint on there, but I think that's going to dry real different. But sort of catching the paint in the little grooves, I think the waves will pick up the dry brushing really well. And if you remember the what I did with it was modeling paste. I made the waves with, so it's like a paste, a texture paste, which I used for a couple of things. So doesn't look like much just yet, but I think once I layer that up with a couple of coats, it's got the nice dark underneath from the black undercoat. And the catching in like pools of all the little ridges. I suspect that's going to dry out pretty quickly and then alter, but then that with a lighter coloured blue is going to catch all of those raised bits, and each lighter colour should pop out a bit more and a bit more until you sort of catch a little bit of the lightest bits on the top. I might do the same, I was thinking the same technique as my Kraken, where I'll put some PVA glue and a little white, I think it's a snow effect, so it's like white sand, so it picks up and looks like waves. I don't know if I can show you that. So around the edges here I've got like sand, white sand, so it looks like that last little bubbled up bit of water when the waves crash. So that sort of effect is what I'm going to try and get in, probably more so on the tail end of the ship, so bubbling up as it's passing through it, because it's more pushing the water forward, so less sort of bubbles at the front, maybe starting around the edge, a little bit of bubbles around the edge, so that's sand stuff. But that's looking pretty good. So far I've just used burnt sienna and cobalt blue, and the black was just to cover the labelling on the cardboard that was still showing through. And already it's looking more like one piece of ship rather than a toy that's had cardboard and foam and other bits and pieces glued to it. So it's starting to look like a playable surface. So battle around on there. It's not got a grid, so like some tabletop terrain you might add a grid to, but you can probably work it out with how many boards there are and just eyeball, visualize how far a square or whatever distance you're using. So yeah, some people like grids, some don't, and I haven't figured that out yet. So this doesn't obviously have a grid, but you've got the lines of the boards, and you could just work out how far it is. So what have we got? 15 minutes. You should probably try a little bit of the lighter colour of the wood on the bottom of the ship. So we've got what? Copper. Oh, actually, I might not use that. That looks a little sparkly. Give it a mix up. The copper one looks like it's got a little bit of a sparkle to it. Let's have a look. Maybe not. If not, I've got a slightly lighter again. Let's see. So see what this does. Just a really light. I didn't have much paint there just to see if it was sparkly or not, but yeah, it sort of is. The copper colour has sort of like a sparkle to it. So we might not use that one for this ship, unless we could build it into the storyline that some carrying a cargo of fairies that all got crushed and left pixie dust everywhere. But that's very one scenario. So let's try that again. Yeah, it's sort of, I don't know if it's because it's the type of paint, but it's actually got not sand, but it's got like little sparkly bits in it. So we might stay away from that one for now, because I don't really need a sparkly ship. Try this. The thing, you don't know what type of paint you're getting until you get it. It might just be needing a bit of more of a shake up, or it might just be how they've made that particular colour. But it's sort of that one as well. So I might just go back to the burnt sienna, because that's not sparkly, and just get a bit more. Try and get that sparkle out, because I want it. I want it more of a wooded colouring rather than a bejeweled ship, because my intention is to put a lighter brown on all of it, although in saying that I might not need to, because the texture on the wood framing and stuff looks pretty good as is, with the lighter colours almost showing up through the dark. So that's just taken that sparkle away. So the copper colour that looks lighter, well, it is lighter, just had a bit of a sparkle in it, which is not the look I was going for. So far, the copper and even this one says apricot sugar. Those ones of this particular paint type are a little bit sparkly in the paint, which is not the effect I want for this project, but good to know, just to have something in mind for a different project. Now that blue has darkened up quite a bit. The undercoat that I've done, it's still quite shiny. It hasn't dried through there yet. So this essentially is going to have another coat of that, just to give it some nice deep undercoat, and then I'm going to start layering it up with the lighter blues. Hopefully that sparkle doesn't come through in the other colours, but it shouldn't be too bad on the water if it does. One that might would be this one that says metallic peacock, so we'll see if that has a sparkle in it. Or I do have the original colours that I used for my other project, but this gives me a wide range of colours to use, and there would be some little details on the ship that I could use a different colour on, just to see what it does, and see what effects I can use with it. But thankfully the sparkle, I can still see just because of the light shining right down onto it, I can see a couple of the sparkles in that paint. So that's the copper colour. And if I look at the paint, it sort of separates a little bit. It's all sparkly on that bubble. But that's cool. That'll suit some other, I'm sure. So yeah, that's the colour scheme so far. Very exciting. Brown and blue. But once we start layering that up, I mean already just the layers on the ship itself, it just pulls the colour away from that golden one around the edge there, and it makes it a bit matte, so it's like not as shiny, which is cool. And then the two different materials, the plastic and then the wood, it's pulled together with this colouring, so that's looking good. And I think the ridges of the Mod Podge that I put on with the very bristled brush is going to show through as well. So what I need to do is work out a colour scheme for this front ornament guy, whether he's just a dark colour, or if I make the like sometimes the wood carvings are coloured. I can picture sort of like mermaids and queens and whatnot off the front of like English, like, or French, like naval ships, from the wooden naval ships, sailing ships, how they have that sort of painted person on the front. Some of them are quite coloured, some of them are maybe like one colour or just a couple of colours. So I don't want to detail them up too much to take away or be I don't want it to be the thing to look at. I just want to keep them painted, but as just part of the ship, not the part of the ship. But so far that's looking good. So that's gonna, all the colours are sort of quite dark at the moment, which is good, and it's all blending in to make it look like one piece. So I'm quite happy with that so far, with just a little bit of paint. It's looking really good. So I'll let that dry. I'll open up some of the other paints just to make sure they're not the sparkly ones. It's not like it says it's like glitter paint or anything. It's just that copper paint had just a little bit of sparkle in it, which was picking up on the in the light. So just something to be aware of with finding different paints and getting different paints. They act differently. So something to bear in mind yourself. Also, I'm trying a new paint range. So the Anko paint pack that I opened on the last stream, 48 colours. They're 30 mils. I think it was only $25 or $28 for the whole pack. But it gives you a huge range of colours. So I just need to see if I can find either another brown that's lighter, which I don't think there is, or I just need to lighten that up with some white and see what happens. And just tone it down, just to give some highlight to some of this. I mean, it's not looking too bad. It might not actually need it, but it might look better. I think sometimes you do like a really light colour, dark then light, then quite often you do a wash where it sinks into all these little gaps, and then a little bit of a dry brush of a really light colour over that, which is what I've seen other streamers doing. everyone has their own little techniques. So, but I was going to try that. A couple of colours, darker, lighter, lighter, and a wash in some form. So yeah, so far so good. Finding out about new colours. And it's coming together. So, thank you very much. I'll see how we go the next time and whether I've figured out a lighter brown for this. Otherwise I'll go back to the other colours, other paints that I've got, and we'll see where we get to. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.